We are here from the Scottrade Center. We are going to stay until they kick us out. We are in the aftermath of the championship game in this fourth installment of the Short Locker. I'm joined by Nick Amatangelo, Joaquin Carrig. We have been through one heck of a roller coaster ride here at the inaugural Arch Madness tournament that Loyola has been involved in. And luckily today the shot clock was working and operational for the championship game. Number 1 Wichita State, number 2 Indiana State. Let's see how it panned out.
It was the 7th time in the past 8 years the top 2 seeds would square off for the MVC title. Over 12,000 fans were on hand to see which team would punch their ticket to the big dance. Jake Odum's final game in the Valley would need to be another big one. The senior Sycamore came in averaging 19 points per game in the tournament. Shokers reached into their grab bag of stars and picked Takale Cotton to lead them through the first half. Junior put his improved three-point shooting on display early here to push Wichita out to an 8-4 lead. Instead of scoring, Odum was sharing the love with the sweet dish to Justin Gant for a 3 of his own to tie the game at 10. Maybe Gant should have stayed out at the perimeter because Clay Anthony Early would be having none of that. Ron Baker only made 1 shot in the first half, so he figured he might as well erase one there to make up for it. Looks like the Sycamores got the memo. They get a late 3 from Manny A-Rop to stay within shouting distance, down 39-29 at half. A-Rop had 9. Cotton led all scores with 10. The challenge was about to get a lot harder for the Sycamores. Less than a minute into the second, Cotton picks Gant's pocket to start the fast break. Pay attention to Odum, hustling back to try to take a charge, but lands awkwardly on that left hand. He'd stay in the game until he picked up his 4th foul, and he'd head to the locker room, and that's when the floodgates opened. Already up 7, Fred Van Vleet reminded everyone why he was named Conference Player of the Year. He scored 8 points in the span of 4 minutes, including that 3 to cap an 11-0 Wichita run to go up by 18. Indiana State tried to mount a final charge. Jake Odum with back-to-back assists, first to Gant, there to Cummings with the sweet overhead dish, cuts the lead to 8, but Van Vleet had quite enough of that. Continue his second half barrage by scoring 7 of the next 8 Shocker points. This sequence here really wrapped it up. Van Vleet with the steal, splits the double team, glides in with the Dr. J finger roll. My goodness. Final seconds, Wichita up 83-69. I'll let their fans narrate the celebration for you. Cotton the MVP, Van Vleet leads the way with 22, just 2 of 5 Shockers in double figures. Coach Marshall explains what this win means for the program.
I told my players, short of the Final Four last year, I think this is going to be one of the biggest celebrations back in Wichita that we've had in a long time. And we've won regular seasons, we've been to Sweet 16s, we've been to the Final Four. Short of that Final Four, I think this is going to be really appreciated and honored. So we got the monkey off our back, so to speak.
And he has a message for any remaining doubters.
Wolves do not fret over the opinions of sheep.
So guys, the song remains the same.
Yeah.
I mean, 34-0, Wichita State becomes only the 3rd undefeated team to enter the NCAA tournament. I mean, what's there left to be said about this Wichita State team?
I mean, I think we knew coming into this tournament that Wichita State was probably going to take it. I mean, they are just so vastly superior to the other teams. And Indiana State, though, put up a hell of a fight today.
They really did. And, I mean, they had the lead to about five twice in the second half.
And so they hung around as long as they could, but in the end, just the Shockers are so good, and they just pulled away Jake Odum for Indiana State when he got his 4th personal foul. Wichita went on like a 13-0 run, and it just sucked the wind right out of any momentum Indiana State had, and it was smooth sailing for Wichita from then on in.
Right, and it wasn't only foul troubles. I mean, he did injure his right hand in that collision with Ron Baker early in the first half. Do you think that affected his performance at all?
I definitely think it took him out of the game scoring-wise, although he still contributed 7 assists overall in the game, 4 of which were in the second half when the injury occurred. I think that the fouls actually hurt the team more because they were making that comeback. He wasn't really scoring, but he was distributing the ball, and A-Rop and Gant were picking up the slack with some big 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
I think Odum would have, had he been able to score, he would have been able to. It would have been a closer game.
Yeah, the bank was open there at the end for Gant. He was kind of just. I mean, it kind of looked like he was tossing up a prayer, but that kind of keyed that. There was a late run where Indiana State went 11-2, and you thought, hey, maybe this could
happen.
Exactly, and then you got incredibly tough shots being taken by the NBC Player of the Year, Fred Van Vleet.
He just, if anyone doubted him being Conference Player of the Year, he shut them down today.
Yeah.
That was an impressive performance. I'm impressed.
Yeah, there was a stretch there where he had 7 of 8 points for the Shockers. Really stemmed a run. He also had a steal.
Just a beautiful steal. Took it all the way through traffic.
Yeah.
Like that. I can't say enough good things about Van Vliet's performance today.
He let the game come to him today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they didn't. That's another thing about Wichita. They don't try to force anything. They really get into whatever they want to, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could pick small little flaws because, like Coach said the other day, people are going to find error with perfection. Technically, they are perfections. And I mean, Ron Baker 0 for 6 from 3.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, and
he made up for that with 8 of 9.
That's true.
And I mean, he was one of 5 Shockers in double figures. You were saying earlier that's NBA style production.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's really easy to focus on what Wichita State did, but we also got to talk about what Indiana State was able to do, because even in the post-game press conference, Coach Marshall said he really wishes that the conference was good enough so that Indiana State could get an at-large bid, and now in all likelihood they're probably going to the NIT.
Probably, and they'll make some noise there. I really think that they're going to stand a shot to, turn some heads. Unfortunately, they're not going to get the chance to do it in the NCAA tournament, but they probably could have made some noise in the NCAA tournament if the value was just a little bit better. We could have gotten 2 bids in, like we have in years past. But.
Right. And I mean, the team that will definitely make noise in the tournament, after the players all go back to class tomorrow, and then in a week later they'll go back to the tournament. It might actually come play in the Scottrade Center again. Who knows? But it's
Marshall's open.
They're comfortable here, man.
They like it.
They're gonna be making noise. You also know that the undefeated teams have not won the tournament. Do you think you see that same scenario playing out for Wichita State? How far do you think this team could go?
I really think they have something special this year. I mean, just the ride that they've been going on. Greg Marshall was talking about it today. It's been in the works for 2 years. They made it to the Final Four last year. This year, I really believe, depending on what type of a bracket they have in the tournament, they could go to the championship game or the Final Four. As far as that, I think that they're that good of a team. I think they're on the level of the elite teams in the Big Ten and the ACC. But every undefeated team can have a bad game, and it's very possible that a Cinderella team or even a better team later on in the tournament will defeat them. I mean, it's very hard to stay perfect.
If you had asked me that question on Thursday, where will Wichita State go? I probably would have said, the Sweet 16, maybe the Elite 8, just because they really haven't played the kind of schedule that you see out of like a Duke or a UNC. But after watching them this week, they have really stepped up their game. I think that they could make a return trip to the Final Four, and if not go further. just because they really have everything together. They have all the pieces, and they execute better than anyone that I've seen this year. This is not a great year in college basketball. There's no dominant team that is going to walk in and sweep its way through. Wichita State's probably got the best shot of any team, in my opinion, to take it all.
It's like you said, there's been a handful of number one teams just within the past couple of weeks before conference tournament season started, and it's just consistency. Their attention to detail is almost meticulous.
Yeah.
Like they had 21 points off of I believe 6 or 7 forced turnovers. They out-rebounded Indiana State on the offensive glass all night, and I mean this Wichita State team. The caliber, we talked about this yesterday, the caliber between Wichita and the rest of the field is really apparent. Now, we haven't really seen them tested yet, which we will see in the tournament. You know, like a true test where they're like down in the second half and they need to show back up. But
at the same time, they've had experiences like that. Down 15 to Evansville, they forced overtime, won there. There's been other occurrences, but where they have been able to fight back. What they haven't had the chance to do is fight back against a better team, a ranked, good opponent.
Here's why I think that the lack of competition they face so far is not a problem. Two things. One, we talked about this earlier, discipline. Mm-hmm. They're extremely disciplined, so they're not going to let the caliber of team affect their play.
Right.
And two, they can beat you in a number of different ways.
That's true.
They can slow the game down. They can speed the game up. They can shoot from outside. They can shoot from in the paint. I mean, they have enough depth, I think, that to carry them through the dog days of the tournament.
Yeah.
Like what you were saying, they don't play up or down to their opponent. They play to their level. Mm-hmm. They just play. It doesn't matter who they're coming out against. And I mean, also before we wrap up this Wichita State game, Takale Cotton really pulled it all together today, and he ended up being the most valuable player in the tournament. He ended the day with 20 points. He was 4 of 6 from 3. I mean, he had it going on. The entire team had it going on. It was their weekend.
It was their weekend, and they just shined.
You know, it could have been any number one of these players.
It really could have.
And
Cotton had a great
just stepped up today and stepped up in the first game of the tournament. And, you know, I would have been fine with Cleanthony Early winning or Ron Baker winning.
Oh, like even Van Vleet had a case. Like,
I mean,
these are their starters. They're 5 guys that could start on an NBA roster in years to come. Cleanthony Early definitely is going to make it big.
Ready.
He's ready now, and the others they're not far off.
Man, it's been one heck of a weekend, and there's been a multitude of awesome plays. This is our first experience here, and I mean, not only were we impressed by the level of competition, we were impressed by the way the NBC handled this event. There was a little bit of a shot clock malfunction, but who's really to blame for that? I mean, we're not sticklers like Coach Henson, so we're not going to make a big deal about it. But Scottrade Center put on one heck of an event, and there was plenty of plays that happened right behind us that really caught our attention, and it was probably really tough to narrow it down to 10.
Absolutely, it was. There was probably 20 or so plays that could have made this list, but here's the top 10 plays that I think from this last week.
Starting off at number 10, it's Evansville's Egidius Mockevicius. Mockevicius gets a huge block here against the Drake University Bulldogs. That was one of his tournament record 8 blocks on the night. More from this game right now. Number 9, also from Evansville, it's DJ Balentine. Also against Drake, he hits this smooth turnaround jumper. Balentine averaged over 30 points per game, made the all-tournament team. Number 8 from Missouri State, it's Christian Kirk. The game against Illinois State didn't have much on offense until Kirk grabs it out of the air and slams it home. He finished with 6 in this game. Number 7 is Bradley's Walter Lemon Jr. First round matchup up against Loyola. He gets the steal and takes it all the way to the house, slamming it down. He finishes the game with 24 points. Number 6 from Indiana State is Jake Odum. Now we saw this play earlier, but let's take another look. Flipping the ball over his head, which leads to a huge 3 for the Sycamores. Number 5. Zach Lofton, Illinois State. First half of the ISU Missouri State game lacked offense, but Lofton picked it up with 3 3-pointers in a 90-second period in the second half. He finished with a game-high 25 points, but Missouri State would hold on to get the win, where they would fall to the Shokers in the quarterfinals. Number 4, if you like 3-pointers, Wichita State has got you covered. Shokers had a 1-point lead against Missouri State before they started making a few threes. and by a few, they made 6 consecutive three-pointers in the first half to build 33-19 halftime lead against the Bears. 4 players from the Shockers contributed to this barrage of threes, Anthony Early and Ron Baker each with 2. Number 3, it's the MVC Player of the Year, Fred Van Vleet from Wichita State. In the championship game against Indiana State, he gets the steal, takes it all the way through traffic to get the layup. Shockers win it all and are headed to the NCAA tournament. Number 2, it's Anthony Early from Wichita State. In the second half against Missouri State, Early elevates and gets the dunk. Check it out one more time. Early goes airborne and just slams it. Shockers roll 67-42. And your number 1 play for the MVC tournament, it's Loyola taking on Bradley. 4.8 seconds left. Loyola down 1. O'Leary inbounds the pass to Thomas, who gets it up to Milton Doyle, heaves up a prayer. That's answered. Doyle beats the buzzer, gives the Ramblers a 74-72 lead, and nobody can believe what just happened. Milton Doyle with your top play of the week.
What a shot by Milton Doyle.
My
Was there any doubt that that was going to be the number 1 play?
No, that was the number 1 play in everyone's mind here, but there's also a side explanation. It might not have been the number 1 play for our very own Megan Carabelli. You got a story for us, Megan?
So, my dedication to Milton Doyle is real. So basically, down on the court, and Milton goes in for his 3, makes it. There was quite the cheering that happened, and in my extreme excitement, wailed my arm in the air and dislocated my shoulder. So then we spent the rest of the night in the hospital, emergency room, fun stuff, went in an ambulance. So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite part of the tournament.
Well, you know, as they say, pain is temporary, glory lasts forever, Megan.
And that shot was glorious.
That shot was pure glory. And I mean, that was the top 10, that was the top play from our perspective coming from Loyola, but there was a lot of amazing stuff going on this week. We're kind of seeing the future of the Valley kind of play out before us. We have so many underclassmen in this tournament.
There really are.
That could really make noise. Where do you see, well, Joaquin, I'll start with you. Where do you see this conference headed? It's a very broad question, but you can tackle it however you'd like.
Definitely up. I mean, when we talked about Milton Doyle, I mean, that guy is definitely going to be one of the, if not the top players in the Missouri Valley, I would say top 10, top 15 players in the NCAA.
Yeah.
But not only that, I mean, Balentine from Evansville.
He's going to be back.
Dude's got range.
I mean, he can just flat out ball. I mean, he's got the 3-point shot, he's got the mid-range, he can get to the rim whenever he wants to, and he's a sophomore. So again, the youth, we're talking about the youth. Doyle's a freshman. I mean, I was really impressed, like you said before. I was really impressed with the amount of young talent that is in this conference. It's, I think, nowhere but up.
I completely agree with that. One other team that I like to think about is Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
They got Hinson as the coach. He's hilarious.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment in a press conference with him, but like he's really stepped up the program, and you know, they had that whole issue early in the season with Murray State, and he had his whole little rant. But after that, they've really put together a good end of the season, had the tournament, won the first game of the tournament, played Indiana State really close, came down to a last-second miss from them. They could make some noise in the years to come.
They really can. Well, hypothetically, Wichita State goes on, maybe wins the national championship. Indiana State maybe goes on, wins the NIT. We'll hold back. We'll hold back. We'll reserve judgment.
Whoa, Joe, slow down.
We got a long way to go. A lot of basketball still to be played before we can say that.
I mean, this weekend has really just gotten everyone's hopes up.
It's been great.
About the Valley, about Loyola.
One last point, though. I mean, if those two things do happen, or if they both go extremely far in this tournament, recruiting for the other schools who may not be at that level yet is definitely going to take a step up because you're playing good competition.
And it's not just playing competition. They can use that to draw people in. It's like, I want you to help me beat Wichita State. I need you.
That's
And so that's really going to just step up the level of the conference altogether.
Right. Well, no one could beat Wichita State this weekend. Same could be said for the entire season. But once again, thank you to all the folks at Scottrade, all the folks in the MVC. An absolutely incredible event. And what do you say we do this same time next year? You'll be here at least.
I might be the only one here.
Well, that'll be it for the final edition of the Short Locker from Nick Amatangelo, Joaquin Kirk. I'm Joe Flaherty, and for our crew in the back, Bridget Sharon, Megan Carabelli, and Professor Ralph Brasteth. That's it from here. We'll see you back in Chicago.
Are they going to turn off the lights now?
Oh yeah, I think they're kicking us out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably go.